to the September 10th meeting of the Richland 2 Board of Trustees. This is our first ever meeting here at the Center for Inquiry, and we are so glad to be here. It's a great facility. Walking in here, you just know it's a place that kids can learn and teachers can teach, and we're grateful to be and thankful to be here tonight. At this time, we're going to stand up, have a moment of silence, and then we'll have a pledge of allegiance. Would you please stand?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will apologize for being late. Please accept that. We'll try to do better in the future. I tell you, next executive public session, approval of our current agenda is our next item on the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve our current agenda as it stands?
So moved.
Ms. Spector, Mr. Manning, second.
Just a comment on it. A comment on
Yes.
No, go ahead.
Consent agenda. Okay, we're ready to vote. Thank you very much. 7-0, it passed. Next is item 5 is our consent agenda, which includes approval of our minutes from previous meeting, a budget update, student readmission request, student admission request into the district's adult education program, and ratification of personnel. Do I hear a motion?
I move to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, there's a motion, second, any discussion?
Discussion on the, just for information, it does not have to be changed, but just in the future, make sure when you do the board members' comments, if a board member, for instance, on there, I think I was towards the end or at the last board meeting, and so I just said I agree with my fellow board members, but I didn't want to drag out and repeat everything that everyone else had said. So please make sure those comments are in the minutes, that I agree with the recognitions that they had already acknowledged. That was left out. You don't have to go back and change it, but in the future, make sure.
Okay, I hear a motion and a second. Ms. Anderson would like for those comments to be included in the board superintendent comments.
If you guys are wondering what Ms. Spector was saying, she's asked for that to be done several times before, and it wasn't followed. So just to make sure, because these are, once we approve on it, it becomes, at that point, a legal document. Thank you. No harm intended.
Okay, the vote in front of you. Again, approval unanimously. Next item is item 6, student focus. Dr. Ham,
Yes, first of all, I'd like to call on Dr. Lynn Mueller, who will lead the presentation of the students and faculty at this fine school.
Oh, it's with great joy that we welcome you tonight to the center. We're so glad to have you here finally and at last. You know, we've hosted it several times, but we've never had you here, and it's just not the same. So, so welcome. I want you to look over there to your right, And of course, it was really hard for me to pick out one thing, and I know we don't have a lot of time, but we really wanted to share a couple things with you. I'm sure that looks familiar to you. And I know that Dr. Ham meant for those to be interrelated, so with her permission, I'd like to change it just a little bit. Because that is our world. We joyfully learn from everything and everyone around us. And you may think that, oh, this is such a small school, but I want to show you a few numbers. Every year, for the past 17 years, this is our 18th year. Pretty hard to believe, huh? We have 8 interns and 8 MATs who spend all year with us. We now have 38 faculty and staff members. Of course, some of those we share with Summit and with CFK. There are, just this year, about 62 MATs and early childhood interns who have a class here. Some with Dr. Mills during the day, some with others during the afternoon. And all of those, of course, are through our partnership with USC. We have 264 students. We have graduated 418. Some of those have gone on to become National Merit Scholars, perfect scores on MATs, the first recipient of the Dr. Stephen Hefner Scholarship, the Ben Carson Award, and I could go on. And just, of course, Zakia Clemens in there, too. We'll add her. We have currently 500 parents. We have tons of grandparents who come and visit us all the time and who come back and visit us. And you might know that we host visitors every week, and a very rough under approximation of the past 17 years would be that we are certainly topping out 3,600 visitors who come from not just South Carolina, they come from Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio, Indiana, Hawaii, Canada a couple of times, Arizona, New Mexico, England, Germany, and some of those visitors are very distinguished authors in our profession who come to learn from us. But I would also say that we learn from every one of those visitors. And I thought it was interesting that I was looking through some folders yesterday, and I found something that one of our 5th graders had written about imagining a school. And it was from Kelly when she was in 5th grade. And so, Dr. Ham, I thought this fit beautifully with your goals for us this year. Imagine a class where joy was the key word and no one's feelings ever got hurt. A class where you could eat your lunch in peace and not be teased. And if you answered a question incorrectly, no one would laugh. A class where everyone was looking forward to finishing a fun project. On the other hand, starting a new adventurous book, and no one was scared to try new things. A class of joy is a class of fun, perseverance, strength, and willpower. And so I just want to give you one example of some of the joyful learning that we've had. And this was a little project that we did with one of our visiting artists, Kirkland Smith. And I think you'll enjoy this. And so at your seats, you should have some note cards, and you can see the whole crew has turned out to welcome you at a CFI. So use these note cards to write a joyful note to somebody in your life. And special thanks to our art teacher, Becky Watkins, for taking the pictures and putting together the video for us. And welcome to CFI, where questions matter and learning is so joyful. Have a great evening.
You probably remember Charles Vaughn and the work that he did at the Anne Frank House, and he told you about the work that he'd be doing with students as they return to school this year. So Charles Vaughn is back with students and their report on what they're doing with the Anne Frank House exhibit.
Actually, it's Mark Turner who's here
Oh, well,
with his students.
I am so sorry.
That's okay.
Right project, wrong teacher leader. Mark, I'm sorry.
Sam Lavoti, Gracie Boyce, Logan Randall, and Frankie Collins are here to share. And then in support, also from TLC, is Amelia Betancourt and Ivory Void. And they were trained as docents for the Anne Frank exhibit.
Hi, my name is Sam Lavoti, and I am a docent at the Anne Frank exhibit. I'm a TLC student at Dent Middle School. And I really enjoyed working with the exhibit and getting to teach other students about Anne Frank and learning about her more myself. We first started off with two gentlemen from the actual Anne Frank house in Amsterdam, and they came to teach us and do some simulations that they would do at the actual Anne Frank house with us. We then had a man from New York, the Anne Frank Center, come, and he taught us more about deep thinking and how we should make inferences about the diary and everything. And so now we are touring children and students across the district through the exhibit, and it is a lot of fun, and I'm very happy to be a part of it.
Great.
Hi, my name is Logan Randall. I am a 8th grade student at 2 academies at Dent Middle School. I personally enjoyed touring students and learning about Anne Frank because over the summer for summer reading, I read her diary, and as a 13-year-old myself, I was really able to relate to some of the personal problems she had going on in her life. But then to see all of the different problems that she had to deal with at such a young age was just kind of overwhelming, and it really made me think about how good I have it at home and with people around me. And it was just a lot to think about because she was the same age as I am now, and she just had to deal with so much stuff. I couldn't imagine living through a war that was happening in my home country, and it was just very cool to see all the pictures and all the information that were on the panels and throughout the video, and it was just kind of it was a great experience to be able to be a part of this, and it's something that I probably will never forget just because it's so awesome.
Hello, my name is Frankie Collins, and I'm an 8th grade avid student at Dent Middle School. I have participated in the Anne Frank exhibit and training. This has helped me with my speech a lot, and it also made me relate to Anne Frank, but overall this was a very great thing for me.
My name is Gracie Boyce, and I'm a 7th grade student at Dent Middle School. And I really liked Anne Frank training because they let us learn by asking questions and really let us learn what we wanted to learn specifically for us. I think it's really fun taking people on tours once you get over the excitement of it all, because every time you learn something new, something you see that you didn't see before. I really feel like I relate to Anne personally because I love writing, and writing was so important to her because it was an outlet for her to express her feelings and it was really important for her to be able to do that. And I think that we can all learn from Anne because it teaches us really to be thankful for the opportunities and belongings that are available to us.
In addition, Dr. Vaughn did share some information. Anne Frank, a History for Today traveling exhibition, calendar of events. So I'm going to pass these down for you all so you can see what's going on in addition to what they just shared with you. Okay?
Anything else tonight?
That's it.
Okay. I want to thank the students who presented tonight. Very articulate, and you had something that meant a lot to me personally, and I'm sure for this board and those in attendance tonight. And also I want to thank Lynn for her presentation for the Center for Inquiry. We're glad to be here and see what you guys do. And thank you very much for our cards here. Questions? Unfortunately, sometimes I have more questions than answers, but I guess that's good too sometimes. Thank you so much. Okay, our next agenda item is our first public participation. Did anyone sign up tonight? No one. Is there anyone who'd like to address the board at this time? Seeing no takers, I'm going to go to our next item on the agenda, which is the voting on our executive session items. I believe the only item we have to vote on is student appeals. Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that both students be referred to Blythewood Academy.
Okay.
I second it.
Second. Okay, second by Ms. Brill. Any discussion at this time for the motion? Okay, I believe we're ready to vote. Okay, let's vote. Thank you very much. Unanimous vote, 7-0. Our next item is old business, no action requested. Proposed revisions to policy JLDBB, which is our self-esteem promotion suicide prevention policy. Dr. Washington, I believe I'll turn it to you.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Katina Davis.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Before you tonight are proposed revisions to board policy JLDBB, self-esteem promotion, suicide prevention. We're bringing this before you tonight due to the Jason Flatt Act, which became law on May 14th, 2012, when signed by Governor Haley. These proposed changes are to allow the administration to provide curriculum to our middle and high school teachers to allow them to complete their certificate renewal.
Okay. Any questions at this time about the proposed changes? Are both of these, now one's a policy and one is what? I mean, how we proceed on the Jason Flatt? How are you supposed to?
The Jason Flatt is actually the state law. We don't have to do anything.
Yeah,
that's just the background information.
Background information.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is our report on our summer professional development for our classified staff. Dr. Ham?
Yes, you would have been really impressed this summer with the professional development that went on. On Fridays when we were off, there were a whole lot of people who were participating in professional development during the summer. Many of them are sitting out in the audience, and I'm glad to see them here. But Georgette Council and Avery Hart are going to be telling you about professional development for classified staff that took place this summer. So I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you, Dr. Ham. Good evening, Chairman Fleming, Honorable Board of Trustees, executive staff, and other guests. It's my pleasure to come before you this evening with a group of classified members from Richland School District 2 and share with you some of the opportunities that we have for professional development this year. We have a small slideshow that will kind of give you a little information as we go along. While professional development has always been a focus for the classroom, the same cannot be said about the supporting areas of the district. In the last 3 years, there's been an intentional focus on ensuring that all categories of staff have professional development opportunities. Unfortunately, funds had not always been available and designated for areas or personnel who provide support to the classroom and not directly in the classroom. In July of 2012, this changed, and classified staff were given funding to support professional development activities unique to this category of staff. This group has been very responsive and very appreciative of these opportunities. There have been both internal and external opportunities provided, and we have taken the train the trainer approach to the professional development opportunities to grow our capacity. You'll now hear from several classified members who will share with you their individual experiences from this past summer and what it means for the students of Richland School District 2. You will also see how the professional development ties into Dr. Ham's Foursquare vision for the district, which Dr. Mueller spoke to earlier. As a little background, some of what I stated is here. We received funding in July of 2012. We started by assembling a core working group to review the needs and the opportunities available. We made notification throughout the district of the funds availability, and we sought the support of principals and other key leaders, which we did receive. And then we began the Richland 2 Professional Development Series for classified staff and identified other opportunities. Just a few points about this particular category. It comprises approximately 1,500 employees in the district, and many of those categories that are listed there and some that are not listed. And for many, this is a new opportunity, and you'll hear that from some of the folks that are going to share with you. And so they're going to come up and share their experiences from this past summer.
Good evening. My name is Louise Snipes. I'm the administrative assistant at Summit Parkway Middle School. When I joined Richland 2 over 12 years ago, I had to take a personal day and pay out of pocket in order to attend a class taught at the W.R. Rogers Center. My focus was to gain knowledge, and the goal was to be more productive in my job. This past June, I attended the South Carolina Midland Summit, and it was the first year that Richland 2 hosted this event. It was also the first year that participation was open to classified employees. You know, I've been asked, what did it mean to me to attend this event? And the word that popped in my mind was thrilling. There were all kinds of classes that we could sample that focused on the programs and the tools that the district has to offer. It was like walking into a 31 flavors ice cream store because the possibilities were endless. One of the classes that I took was titled Inbox Zero, Getting Things Done in Gmail, and it pulled me in. It gave me a completely new view to my Gmail account, likening it to my desk. It helped me learn how to handle that mass of communication that's shared with me on a daily basis. I learned different options like files, labels, tasks, priorities. And I'm proud to tell you that I applied what I learned in my class. I've explored some of the other Gmail options and shared it with faculty, staff, and my principal at Summit Parkway. In addition, participating in this professional development, we had the option to earn an educational credit. And I took advantage of that option as I'm working to earn my certification as an education office employee. Part of that education requirement was to read a book titled Born Digital. As you might think, the focus was on technology and how our students are learning it at a fast pace and are very comfortable. And it reminded us that we too need to learn, and we need to be responsible for our children as they learn. My husband told me a long time ago, don't confuse 13 years of experience with 1 year experience 13 times. So be a lifelong learner. Well, by providing the professional development to classified employees, I believe Richland 2 encourages me to be just that. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to participate because it was an awesome experience.
You're next. We got out of order.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening.
My name is Peggy Merrill. I am the bookkeeper and the admin assistant for the International Baccalaureate Grant. And when I came to the district, I was not aware of any kind of an organization for classified employees. So to learn about the different organizations that we have the opportunity to become a part of and become better through that organization was very exciting to me. This summer, I was a first-timer at the NAOP convention. That's the National Association of Educational Office Professionals. It was mind-blowing on several different levels. And first, I want to thank you for allowing us to have these opportunities because they have opened a whole new world to us. And they have given us tools that a teacher might use to become board certified. We have some tools to achieve levels as well. Whether you have a four-year degree or not doesn't matter. There are ways that you can accomplish this, and we are all grateful that you have supported us to do these things. NAOP is a respectable professional organization of integrity. When you are going through the process to become a certified educational office professional, it's not that easy. It takes time, it takes money, it takes commitment. But we are thrilled to have that opportunity because for some of us, we had no clue that that was out there for us. Their encouragement has made me a better employee. I am a lifelong learner, but professionally, I began to realize I could do more, and they've provided ways to do that. Let's see, what else did I want to tell you? It was just a wonderful opportunity. The classes they offer for us are classes that we need. Classes on stress, classes on our own personal health, which sometimes we forget, classes on various technology levels, whatever needs that you might have. They have classes that you could go to and become more proficient in that. So basically, it's building better people by being able to go to these events that they offer for us. And being in our capital was just a bonus on top of all the wonderful things at the convention, so I thank you.
Now it's me. Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to come and share what I learned over the summer through the opportunity to better myself, to broaden my learning base, to meet people that are in a similar field. I went to the national conference, and I also am pursuing my CEOE. And I had the opportunity to do 2 days worth of training, which is called the Institute training. And the two things that were covered there by the instructor, who's Tracy Conley, was emotional intelligence and growing in leadership. And I learned a lot about emotional intelligence, which was a subject I knew nothing about. And it really has helped me have a better perspective of my workplace, the people that I work with in my workplace, and I've had a lot of opportunity to use my emotional intelligence. And it has stretched me in a way that I would have never thought I would be stretched. And it has made me have to adjust a lot of the things that I do based off of that training. I also learned that no matter what position you hold as a support staff, there is always opportunities for you to learn to be a better leader. We all have qualities of leadership in us, and to develop those qualities and to grow those qualities was really an amazing opportunity for me. I earned 16 hours towards a continuing education credit, which helps me to pursue my goal of becoming a certified office professional. And I do not have a college education. And so for me, that was really a wonderful opportunity to learn that I could do this. And I value the fact that you value us enough to allow us to do that, and I'm also a firm believer in being a good steward. So I don't think that you should just allow people to do something without knowing that they're actually being stewards of what they are given. I expect that of my children. I have a child that is in college, and I expect him to go to class and pass those classes and be a good steward of that money that's being invested in him. And I appreciate that, and I have taken that momentum from going to the national conference, and I'm on my own. I'm taking classes online with Midlands Tech to pursue more education credit to get my CEOE. And it was just wonderful, and I feel so appreciated, and I want to thank you for investing in me as an office professional. And I hope that you will see through the momentum that this has had with all of us as a team, a broad team in all the sites that we're at in the different schools in the district office, how we've come together and collectively shared that information. Last thing is, through that, I did the Hire to Retire series on Fridays, and I was actually able to present to my peers from my place of what I do and give them knowledge about the U.S. mail and different things that they use on a daily basis, but a greater understanding. So again, I just want to thank you for the opportunity, and I want to thank you for investing in us professionally. I appreciate it.
Good evening. I was able to attend another conference. It's the International Association of Administrative Professionals. You've heard a lot of great things about NAOP, but with over 1,500 in our classified staff, all of us cannot attend one conference. So it's great to have another opportunity to still get the professional development that we're looking for as office professionals. In fact, this International Organization of Administrative Professionals has been in existence for over 70 years. This year, we were able to attend in California and actually have the 1,400 attend from across the globe. It included the United States, Canada, Asia, and the Caribbean. We had a focus on technology, communications, and a wealth of professional development. Additionally, you'll notice here that we had some stellar world-class speakers. This included Mr. J.R. Martinez. Some of you may know him as season 13 Dancing with the Stars champion, but he also is a stellar speaker, a war veteran, and a burn victim as well. Here he was able to give his keynote address to us, and what made it so special is that he highlighted the respect that we need to give not only ourselves, but others. And I thought about how it directly correlates with Dr. Ham's priorities for the district, because there, you know, she highlights how learning, character, community, and joy really pull us together as a district. Well, JR noted similar characters. In fact, he said that if we respect ourselves and others, that we are actually proud of who not only we are, but we also recognize that everyone in our district, on our jobs, in our families, and our communities are worthwhile and have something to bring to the table. And by doing this, this creates a positive work environment which flourishes not only in our individual offices, but then trickles down into the classroom. In addition to having these great keynote speakers, at this conference, we enjoyed 58 hours of professional development across 48 sessions. What I personally took from this is that I came away with an effective way of doing my job better. As the E-rate specialist working in technology, we spent a whole track on Google and Google Apps. We were able to really hone in on technology that we use every day behind our desk that's specifically geared toward office professionals. I was able to share in some of the faster, easier more efficient record management training. There, as the E-rate specialist, I learned that I could handle my E-rate filings in a more effective way, and so it allowed me to hopefully capture more money from the federal government. So in conclusion, what I really took away from this training is that NAIOP does really wonderful things, but we all can't go. So it was a really privileged opportunity for me to represent the district at this international conference. Sure. And I thank you so much for allowing me to have that opportunity.
Thank you.
Hi. My name is Megan Phelan. I'm the IT Project Resource Assistant at the district office. I was allowed to attend the 3rd annual Power School User Group Conference in Las Vegas. It was a national conference. Prior to becoming the Project Resource Assistant, I was a student data coordinator for 3 years at Bridge Creek. I was able to attend the Power School User Group Conference for the Southeast. It was the very first conference for the Southeast region with several other individuals throughout the district. This was comprised of student data coordinators, attendance secretaries, you name it, we were there. The sessions varied from how the day in the life of a secretary, Power School secretary, to customizations, to implementation of Power School into your district. Through attending that conference, many of us were asked to assist with the 2nd annual, getting it up and running. So then that kind of led me into attending the national conference. Although it was a different position and I didn't necessarily attend classes to learn how to use Power School, we attended many sessions led by Sandra Ash, Joe Carano, in-house on how to use Power School, which kind of led me to the point where I am now. I could talk about Power School all day long. It is a wonderful program and it has many capabilities. As the IT Project Resource Assistant, I was able to meet with vendors and see exactly what this program is capable of and how I can bring that knowledge back to the district. I've only been here for 4 years in the district. My mom is here, my aunt is here, my cousin works here. This is somewhere that I see myself growing and spending my lifelong career here. In being a lifelong learner, I want to know that I have opportunities to continue my growth, not only at work, but on my own. And it's nice to know that I have that support. The first 2 years I was here, I didn't necessarily know that there were any opportunities for us to learn. And now that we have classes to attend, and we have that support and that encouragement, I wake up each day proud to come to work. I love my job, I love learning, and we learn every day, something new every day. Now, I've managed to kind of create contacts that I can reach out to from other districts across the whole U.S. to vendors. It's just a networking opportunity, and it's something that I would like to continue. I'm just very thankful for the opportunity.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Shelby Culp, and I'm the administrative assistant at Catawba Trail Elementary School. Due to our modified schedule that we have in the summer, I had the opportunity to spend my Friday mornings either sleeping in or taking advantage of an awesome professional development series created just for educational office staff, and I chose the latter. Hire to Retire gave me an inside look at how our district works. What made this so unique was it was all Richland 2 employees, and they all took their Fridays to come in and speak to us. As a bookkeeper, I know how to spend money, but I found out why we spend this money for that and that money for this. It's not simple. It's very complicated. I now understand what's involved before I call an applicant to set up an appointment for an interview, as well as what happens after I do a recommendation for employment. I'm just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. Where do our children come from, and what do we do with them? I had no idea of the services we provide, not only to our students, but to their families too. Everyone is not blessed with the same support system that I take for granted. I'll no longer look at them as just another face at Catawba Trail. They all have names, needs, souls, and most definitely a future. We have staff that is absolutely passionate about their jobs. They're always willing to help. They encourage your questions. They look for efficiencies. They look for cost-effective solutions. They want me, you, and everyone else in District 2 to be successful. Finally, I confirmed what I already knew. We have incredible leadership, from principals who handle the day-to-day operation of the schools to the executive staff who have to make the sometimes unpopular decisions. They all work incredibly hard at making Richland 2 awesome. I hope that we will continue to have these opportunities for relevant professional development for classified staff. It benefits every child by empowering everyone in the district to make a difference every day. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jill Avery Hart, and I just want to do a brief summary. I promise it's going to be very brief. The professional development opportunities for support staff fall right in line with Dr. Ham's district priorities. We're going to talk about a little bit about the culture. Both the support staff and the administrators have wholeheartedly welcomed the professional development opportunities for the support staff. Administrators are starting to include their support staff professional development held at the schools and in departments. They're inviting them to come. Joy, that's my favorite one, Dr. Ham. Some categories of support staff have never participated in professional development on a regular basis, so it has definitely given the staff a much-needed morale boost. Learning. There have been many requests for additional professional development opportunities with staff coming in on their days off. People are realizing there are many areas in which support staff need to continue to grow. Communication and collaboration has grown greatly. Members of support staff in like roles, such as elementary bookkeepers, are setting up quarterly meetings to collaborate and share best practices. People that would normally not voice their opinion are speaking up and even taking on leadership roles. So it has made a tremendous difference to the support staff, and we really appreciate your support. Thank you.
As you heard, there are many, many people that are very excited about having these opportunities in Richland 2. And again, we just want to thank the board for your support financially and otherwise in valuing what it is that we do in the district and sharing and showing us that you value our voices and the contributions that we make. There are a lot of ladies that came out tonight, and I'd like for them to stand, that participated or attended or helped to put on professional development even internally. If you ladies would stand, please, so you can be recognized. They have given a lot of time, energy, and effort to this, and we certainly appreciate it, and we will be glad to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Georgette. Are there questions for Georgette or the others who presented tonight? I just want to thank you for participating, for the opportunity. A lot of people don't take advantage of it, and obviously you have, and we're grateful for that. We don't put it out for nothing. I mean, we all do professional development. Anybody who works nowadays does professional development. It's an important part of what you do. And what I heard was not only you feel like you communicate better between the people in your school, I'm sure that the public appreciates what you've learned too when you come in and deal with the public. It makes a big difference there. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, those of us that don't work have to do professional development to keep our license current too.
That's correct. That's correct.
I really do.
Well, that's why I do mine too.
I could never pass state boards again.
The only thing I was going to say, if you didn't pay attention to Louise, you'll hear her later at some place. She's tracked me down twice, and she has expressed so much joy, so I'm excited for all of you.
Ms.
Mr. Chairman, also, let me say that as I looked at the numbers, when you're talking about over 1,500 people are in that category, that represents 50% of the employees of this district. And for this board to recognize the importance of professional development for 50% of its employees, I think says a lot about our commitment to every employee and not just the other 50% that we've traditionally supported.
In your presentation, there was a little information about a couple of other categories, and you heard from office professionals tonight primarily, but there are other categories as well that enjoy professional development, and you have some information on some of the things that they did in your presentation also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, last item tonight is a report on improving academic achievement. This is a continued series we're having. Big, important topic, and Dr. Ham, I'll turn it over to you.
I'll do just a quick introduction here. You know, earlier we gave you a logic model that showed our plan for improving academic achievement. One component of that was continuous quality improvement. That's very closely tied to appropriately using data. So we're going to lead off with Jeff Potts talking about how we're using data in the district. I think another important thing about that logic model is it takes a whole system to make improvements. And I think in particular, when we start talking about what's happening at the middle school, Sue Millett will be presenting information about some things we've identified as effective practices, some things we need to plan on doing, and you'll sort of see a variety of approaches that are going into improving achievement at the middle school level.
Thank you, Dr. Ham. Mr. Chair, members of the board, recently you've been provided a list of the academic focus areas for the 2013-2014 school year. You'll notice the one that I'm going to talk about tonight is data. But if you look at that list that you were given, data looks just like all the other elements. And the truth is, data is really the foundation piece that helps to support all the other, support us in looking at these focus areas. Helps to identify whether or not they are focus areas to begin with, and helps to allow us to know if we're making gains in those areas. Some of the things that we're doing as a district in my department to help support the focus areas, one would be to help create information in a more easy to access way and all in one place. So we're creating data profiles that are going to have a variety of different data pieces in it. They're going to be attached to the district's intranet, and we'll be able to assist our academic teams, some of the district level teams, school teams, to help support them so they have all the data that they might potentially need in one place rather than searching through different locations for data. We have a lot of new teachers in the district. We also have new and young administrators, and we're going to help provide some professional learning for teachers and administrators through assessment courses, which are in addition to the assessment course, formative assessment courses that we're offering in the district. We're also going to help lead some professional learning opportunities that involve MAP and Descartes so that we can help teachers modify learning and to help group students based upon students' needs and their weaknesses. We also will help provide support professional learning for all staff to help them be able to gather data through Enrich and Power School, and not just gather data, but help show efficient ways to bring that information together. Also, how they can use and manipulate data to better make use of the information. And I think lastly, I said data is really a foundation piece, and although I might not have a direct link in every one of these areas that's on here, somebody within the district will be providing support in terms of whether it's evaluations or other information that can help the academics team know if we're moving in the right direction. If you don't have any questions for me, we can move to Sue Millett and the middle school piece.
Mr. Potts, we may bring you back. Don't leave the building, as I say.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. I'd like to introduce a few folks. We have all of our middle school principals here in attendance, and they've been very supportive of our efforts to work with them. We also have Nancy Gregory, who's going to be speaking in just a few minutes, and Marcia Mosley, who is our middle school team leader. And thanks to you and your support of additional members of our academic staff, Marcia is one of them, and we're delighted to have her. We also will hear from two teachers who worked on the transition teams, 5th to 6th and then 8th to 9th. You received in your packet, and I'm not going to read all of that to you. Obviously, you've had it, but a couple of things that we wanted to point out to you really is in the second slide of proven and promising practices. Several things have happened over the last few years, and we want to make sure that you understand some of the things that we've done. With your support, we now have AVID, which is advancement via individual determination in all of our middle schools, high schools, and now 5 of our elementary schools. And then we have a practice we call Teaching Up. And Teaching Up really is giving students an opportunity to be challenged in an area, content area, that maybe they would not have been able to participate in, but they are provided a teacher with support so that those students can be successful. So I'm going to ask Andrew Barbone, principal at Summit Parkway, if he will come forward and share what he has done and is continuing to do at Summit Parkway.
Good evening. My name is Andy Barbone. I'm the principal at Summit Parkway Middle School. 2 years ago, we started a conversation at Summit that centered around how we could give students more access to the Algebra 1 course in 8th grade. One of the most significant gatekeepers of high school and possibly tech school or college is math. Our goal was to provide AVID students who did not reach the district's criteria the opportunity and supports that they needed to succeed and earn Algebra 1 credit for high school. With gracious help from academics, that department, we were able to enroll 24 students. In the AVID Algebra 1 class, we had a math tutor from USC actually tutor those students during class as well as their AVID elective. And these students worked extremely hard, especially in an intentionally designed after-school weekly work session. I'm happy to share with you that 22 out of 24 of our students passed the state algebra end-of-course exam and had so many opportunities now open to them in the high schools they matriculated to. Much more than grades, tests, or high school opportunities, these students now internally hold the picture of themselves of students who can and will continue to do advanced work. I believe this is also true because of the adults by their side that told them that they could do this work that their parents and their teachers and administrators supported them in. Thank you very much for that opportunity.
Thank you, Andrew. And next, I'd like to invite David Basile, who is one of our new principals. You were introduced to him last board meeting. He's going to share a little bit about what he is doing at Dent, what he's implementing, and it sort of goes along with Debbie's 20-mile march, doing things consistently on a regular basis. David?
Good evening, and thank you. I guess by default, the new fella gets to speak to the board, but I don't mind the opportunity, and I appreciate it. Early on, when I first met Dr. Ham, she put out a metaphor about the 20-mile march. And we believe the definition looks like this. A 20-mile march is about having concrete, clear, intelligent, and rigorously pursued performance mechanisms that keep you on track. So that's kind of been my focus and kind of the focus that I've instilled with my staff on how we're going to get things done at Dent Middle School. So to ensure for all of you that we're focused on our core business, which is teaching and learning, quality and engaging instruction, we've taken a very systematic approach based on the philosophy that I've always used as principal. You need to inspect what you expect. So I taught my staff, the assistant principals, teacher leaders, and teachers that you need to be able to prove things, and you need to be able to look at evidence. So some of the things that we've revamped and we're redoing are as simple as lesson plans. We're going to use that as looking for evidence of planning, incorporating best practices. And for me, I had a list of best practices that I wanted all lesson plans to incorporate. However, the teacher leadership in the school thought it would be better to have a template model. So they've implemented on their own initiative a template model, and we're reviewing them to make sure that they incorporate those things that we know are best practices. Long-range planning. All teachers are required to turn in a long-range plan. Again, we're looking for evidence of planning. And also, this is the really important key. It's an understanding who's sitting in front of you as a teacher. And how do you gear your instruction for those young folks that are standing in front of you there, or sitting in front of you there. It's also a way to check on what you want your students to know and do at high levels, and it gives us a chance to really get to know how the teachers focus their year. We've revamped our walkthrough instrument to include more Common Core and best practice look-fors. One thing that I believe is my job is to make sure that my assistant principals don't consider themselves managers, but consider themselves instructional leaders. So I've created for them, and they've created for themselves, a weekly matrix of observations and walkthroughs. They're also going to lead the data discussions on our staff. And the way I check on that and inspect what I expect is they turn in a weekly accountability sheet to me so I can see how they've made a difference with the staff and where they've been and what they've done. Also, our professional development. A lot of times professional development is a sit and get, or it's a one-shot deal, or it's just forgotten. We're going to focus on two things and do them well. We're going to focus on literacy and the Common Core. It's going to be ongoing, with the hope that down the road we can create some really strong professional learning communities, some focus teams. I really like lesson study groups, so I would like to go there also, and some peer observation plans. One of the PD activities that I'd like to share with you, and it's not my creation, so I always give credit where it's due. Ms. Dees is here with me, my assistant principal, who handles curriculum. She did a professional development activity, and what she did, also based on the theme of the 20-mile march, is she used the march as a metaphor when discussing close reading, and a key strategy for reading and analyzing text with Common Core. Teachers modeled and learned the 6 different close reading strategies before reflecting on personal and professional 20-mile marches. So what we did in this activity, where we're talking about the Common Core, we use it as a reflection tool to get the entire staff focused on the journey this year. So that's just a little bit about what we're doing to stay focused and keeping the core business the core business. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We appreciate your participation. Now I'd like to invite Nancy Gregory and 2 of the teachers to come forward. And then after Nancy and these 2 folks, I believe we have Courtney Long and Sharon James. After that, then Marcia Mosley, who is our middle school team leader, will share with you our next steps and things that she's been doing with our middle schools.
Good evening. During the second semester of the 2012-13 school year, 2 transition teams were created, one to explore 5th to 6th grade transitions and one to explore 8th to 9th. Each team consisted of 48 teachers, administrators, and district office personnel representative of our district. Tonight, we have asked 2 members of the team, Courtney Long from E.L. Wright and Sharon James from Ridgeview High School, to share their work.
Good evening. My name is Sharon James, and I'm the lead teacher for the Blazer Academy at Ridgeview High School. We started our 3-month study by reviewing survey, test, and discipline data with Jeff Potts. Then we explored what transition activities were currently in place at 5th, 6th, 8th, and 9th grades. With this information, we had conversations about what was working well and what we needed to examine further. 4 strands emerged from our responses and were identified for further investigation. As a result, each transition group was divided into 4 smaller teams based on these strands. In combination with feedback from parent surveys and student focus groups, teams researched the identified strands. For 5th to 6th grade transitions, the strands were communication, curriculum, structures, and social, emotional, behavioral needs. For 8th to 9th grade transitions, the strands were curriculum, articulation, transition activities, grading, and parenting.
Good evening. After studying multiple data points, we followed a logic model, teams researching best practices related to each of the identified areas. Teams made recommendations based on research. Our research and results were shared with principals and representatives from the executive staff in May. Some of the recommendations from the 5th and 6th grade group were a fresh start day for all 6th graders, creating math design team to study the middle school math curriculum and sequencing of classes more deeply, and providing time each semester for vertical articulation between 5th and 6th grade teachers. Some of the recommendations from the 8th and 9th grade group were providing regular meetings between 8th and 9th grade teachers, creating more support for transitioning parents from 8th to 9th grade, providing meetings between middle and high school counselors to discuss course and graduation requirements, and exploring grading inconsistencies between middle and high schools. In closing, we'd like to express our gratitude for being a part of each of these transition teams. We believe the time spent collaborating and researching and brainstorming was valuable and will have a positive impact on our students. Again, we'd like to thank the district for setting this as a priority. Are there any questions?
Explain your vertical articulation a little bit, because does that mean you break it down to smaller increments? I mean, what do you mean by that?
Sure. Our vertical articulation really is more about a conversation between the lower grades and the upper grades. Typically, I teach 6th grade math, so much of my conversations are with other 6th grade teachers. If we were going to do vertical articulation, I would be talking with other 5th grade teachers as well as 7th grade teachers.
And y'all talk about what, I know you talk. I mean, I don't have any problem. I think you communicate, but what does that do for your students?
Absolutely. We would talk about the grade level expectations in 6th grade and what would be the necessary skills for them to have a foundation and be successful in 6th grade, and also the things that they would need for mastery exiting 6th grade to be successful in the 7th grade. Something you want to add to that?
And the same, and likewise for 8th to 9th grade. We want to make sure that the transition from 8th to 9th grade is an easy task for students. So we'd like to have more communication with the middle schools to make sure that transition for those students.
Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Marcia.
And finally, in the document that you have, Improving Academic Achievement, we've outlined several of our focus areas for this year. While we'll focus on many areas, I want to just point you in the direction of 3 of our top priorities. First of all, we want to strengthen our core content areas and implement the Common Core state standards. Secondly, we want to examine and compare the content in regular and honors classes to ensure that we have rigorous instruction. And the last point that I want to point out, we want to review assessments, and specifically the pre and formative assessments, because we want to ensure that our teachers understand the necessity of pre-assessing and utilizing formative assessments to support students in their learning. Are there any questions?
Questions for Marcia?
I don't have a question for Marcia. I have one for Ms. Millette. I think you mentioned that you selected 5 elementary schools for the AVID programs. Can you tell me which schools and how were those schools selected?
Okay. Let's see. Mary Page Boyce is over our AVID program, and Mary Page, there you are. She can tell you how that has taken place.
Do you know anything that you can share with me, since the question was directed to you, and then we can have Ms. Page to just fill in the gaps for me, please?
Okay, certainly. Students have been very successful in our AVID program at the middle school level and at the high school level. And so when we met with some of our elementary principals, they expressed interest when they found out that there was, in fact, an elementary element to AVID, and I believe it's 5th grade for students. And so several of our principals volunteered to participate. They wanted to be a part of it. And so they went with Mary Page this summer to some training. And so I'm going to let her tell you the details.
Okay, can you give me the schools first? And then the
Certainly.
second part?
Rice Creek Elementary, Killian Elementary, Lonnie B. Nelson Elementary, Round Top Elementary, and Center for Achievement.
Do that again.
Lonnie B. Nelson, Killian Elementary, Rice Creek Elementary, Round Top Elementary, and Center for Achievement.
And how did you select those?
I did not select, they self-selected. Sean Bishton, as you know, came from Summit to Rice Creek, and Summit Parkway had been doing some of the exciting things you heard Andrew talk about earlier, and LaToya is here. They're fantastic Avid teacher, and he couldn't get Avid off of his mind when he went to Rice Creek, and he knew that there was an Avid Elementary that had started, and he just kept talking to me about it, and finally we sent him to look at an Avid elementary school, and when he came back, he had me come to the elementary principals. We talked about it. Then he invited any interested principals to come to a meeting, and anyone who wanted to come came to that meeting and involved themselves.
And how were the students chosen for the program?
In elementary, all of the students are Avidized, to use a made-up word. But the principals decided whether they were going to do 5th grade or 4th and 5th grade. And once that happens, they go to training in the summer and they choose elements of the Avid program that they would like to use the first year, and they will do that with all students.
I guess my question is how the students selected. Is it an interview process? Can the parents just state that they want their child in it? Or
All 5th grade students at those schools are in it.
All students?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It basically becomes a set of strategies they use with all of their students.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Mary Page, is there a pre and post testing of those students to determine sort of the progress that's been made? And if so, are benchmarks already in place that you use as a sort of a litmus test to determine whether you achieve, not you personally, but whether or not the program is achieving its goals? How is that determined?
In elementary, we have not discussed that. It may be something we want to look at, but right now, I think we want to let the teachers choose what they want to implement, get that going, and the Avid team, meaning the Avid folks from Atlanta and San Diego, they are actually going to come spend a week with us in October, and I will certainly talk to them and ask for some suggestions along that line. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
As we add programs like Avid and work on our classroom teachers, are we looking at sort of what is stacked on top of that? We have Common Core, we have Avid, I've heard RTI. I mean, I don't know. There's tons of programs we have in the district. So I guess the root of my question is, how much of an extra burden are we placing on teachers at some level? Are we really evaluating that, maybe offloading some things that aren't as much of a focus, if that makes sense?
It does make sense. I think that the principals that came to the Avid meeting, none of them said that day, we're going to do Avid. They all said, we're interested, we'll go back and talk to our teachers. So I want to comfort you by saying that in all of those schools that elected to do it, all of those teachers wanted to do it. And they really viewed it as a way to organize a lot of the best practices they were already doing. And I hope that that is how they are viewing it. But again, as I continue conversations with those folks as they get 5, 6, 7 weeks into it, we'll be able to see that. But we hope that it is just a compilation of best practices and maybe a way to think about helping students organize themselves.
I just hope that I think our former principal that got up talked about our administration as instructional leaders. And as instructional leaders, not just with Avid, but across the board, I would hope that as we add programs that they're really evaluating, particularly since we have a number of new teachers and new administrators in our schools, and that we make sure it's a manageable amount of work that goes with the programs that they institute, so that they are, one, more effective for what we're doing, and two, not overburdening teachers, parents, and students with, the extra. So no knock at all on Avid. Just make sure that we knock something off the back end as we add it on the front end. So.
And I will say that one of the basic tenets of the AVID program, both in the students that are selected at the secondary level and with teachers that participate in it, it needs to be voluntary. That's one of the main tenets, is we know it will not work if anybody is doing something they don't want to do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The, excuse me, the 5 elementary schools who've been added, will they have schools, middle schools? First, they are all in the 5th grade, right? Is this for all
That
5th
is correct.
graders?
One of those schools, Lonnie B. Nelson, trained their 4th grade teachers as well. And I will tell you also, and I should not have left her out, Brenda Hafner, I think she's here. She actually took some 6th grade teachers as well, because several of those elementary schools clustered around her school, and she wanted to take some 6th grade teachers to look into looking at Avid Elementary and whether that would work in her middle school. But we're being very focused on whether or not we have a proper feeding system in place.
That was my next question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have elementary schools in place for these students from these schools to feed into? Is there a school, a middle school for each
Yes,
one of
ma'am.
these middle schools?
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
To feed into?
Yes, ma'am.
And the zoning will not change for those students?
Well, luckily we have Avid at every middle school.
Okay, so these children will have an opportunity.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions? Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Fleming, Dr. Mosley, has your role changed, or is this sort of like what Mr. Manning was suggesting a moment ago with the teachers? Has this been added onto your plate in addition to early childhood?
My role has changed.
Your role has changed. Okay, so we're going to get an update on who has taken her duties and responsibilities of early childhood then, as a result of that, right?
That's correct.
Okay, because you're not very interested in that.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Doing what now?
Her role has now changed. She's no longer our early childhood person from the district, but they're going to tell us who's going to take that role over.
David Foster is David Foster is taking over that role as elementary lead, so he'll be working with the early childhood folks in conjunction with Marcia as she hands it off.
Okay.
We appreciate your continued support with our
Absolutely.
middle school initiatives.
Along the same lines, as we look at data, Jeff, have we added your extra support, extra statistics person yet? Great. Okay. Thank you.
And I would just like to add that our team leaders are in the process of interviewing for the positions that you have approved, and we're excited about that opportunity. So we'll keep you posted.
Right. That includes our agenda tonight. Now we have agenda items for our next meeting, which will be the 24th of September, right next door at Summit Parkway. That means we have to leave a little earlier from home or work, don't we? Golly, get here. All right, Dr. Ham, what have we got?
We will
Got
have
lots
a
of
student focus report. We'll have a report about family intervention services, and in particular, Dr. Cooper Haber's recent presentation on that program in London. We have a proposed policy potentially on the use of pepper spray by security, a report on our early childhood programs, and a report on our updating our 8% funding.
Ooh, that sounds like a good meeting. Anything for the future? I believe Ms. Elkins Johnson had a.
Yes, I have 2 items I'd like to add. One is the Leadership Academy, if we can discuss that, and also if we can discuss Principal for a Day where we bring the community in and let them be role models and kind of just walk around with our principals to see exactly what goes into the day-to-day function and operation of our school.
I'm sorry, I missed the last one.
Principal for a Day. And the first one was the Leadership Academy.
Yeah, the Leadership
Okay.
Academy.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd also like to have a report on how many of our 3rd grade students are on reading level. From all the statistics that I've seen, reading proficiency by third grade, they say, is the most important predictor of high school and graduation career success. Yet, since I've been on the board, I don't think I've seen a specific report as to where we are with that.
Mr. Chair, excuse me, in our board brief, we have the policy on the change in the law with administering medications, and it was in our board brief. There's some things that we need to include. I've gone through it, so I don't know if we're going to discuss that next week or how you want to handle that, because there's some things I'm not sure if nurses. Have we hired a nurse supervisor since our nurses?
Yes, Don McAdams is back with us.
Oh, she didn't stay.
She stayed a day and a half and came back.
I could have told her not to go over
And
there.
we were delighted to have her.
That was a bad move. Okay, did she write this because there's some things that are left out? She wrote this? Okay, well then I need to get with her, because as a from a nursing standpoint, with the medications, there's several things that have been left out. Expiration dates, counts, frequencies. There's several things on here. So we're not going to, this is not going to be on the agenda for.
We can move that to another, further down the road.
Okay, so because there's some things that we have to clarify. So this is not to be voted on?
These are rules, yeah.
Okay, then we need to clarify some things in here, because there's some things from a medical nursing standpoint that we must include when you're dealing with medications. Thank you. So you want me to get with who?
If you'll give that to Tina Davis, we'll make sure that Dawn McAdams gets that.
Oh, this is just scribble on here,
Okay.
so I can.
Don't we have a medical advisory board too? Have we run this by them? I'm just asking. Have we run these regulations by?
Well, they definitely missed some things. As a nurse, I know they missed some things. So we need to make sure that we cover ourselves in that.
Thank you, Ms.
Particularly when you're not working every day in a certain field, it's easy to miss those type things that I picked up on.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add for, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add for a future agenda item, I think it's probably time to get an update on where we stand with Common Core and what kind of progress we're making with that regard. And remember, one of the last things we said was there was going to be a component or focus of Common Core that was going to deal with communicating to parents the changes that were going to take place. And so we sort of probably need to have another conversation about that in terms of where we are and what's happening with that. So not next meeting, but sometime in the near future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I think the testing is becoming quite the assessment is becoming quite an issue.
Yes, it is.
I'd like to report on, not maybe next time, but very soon.
I'll just interject something in our plan for rolling forward with the monthly updates on the areas that were outlined for improving academic achievement. We thought in October we would report on the Common Core and on leadership, which covers a number of the topics you brought up. So if it can wait until October, it fits right in our timeline.
Mr. Chair, for that Leadership Academy, we need to discuss that before the October timeline. So I would like to go ahead and keep that on the agenda, please.
Why does that need to be discussed before October?
There are some questions that I have that we need to discuss in executive session.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Other items for the future. It will be the future now. Okay, thank you very much. Next is our second session of public participation. Is there anyone at this time who'd like to address the board? Thank you very much. Board Superintendent comments. I'm going to start from our Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, let me say to Dr. Mueller, we appreciate being here. Love the floor. I think I mentioned that to you earlier. It looks very attractive, very inviting and warm. Thank you for doing an excellent job for the number of years that you've been here with this particular center. I'm very, very pleased and proud of the work that's going on. Also want to thank you, Ms. Council, and others who were part of the presentation and talked about the tremendous success that professional development has meant in the lives of our professionals like yourselves and others, CDFs and social workers and other nurses and office professionals. Thank you for being engaged and involved, even sometimes at your own expense. I certainly also want to say, Mr. Chairman, it's important that we continue to look at data, and thank you, Mr. Potts, for referencing the whole data profile versus, it reminded me of the data warehouse concept that was once in place, where we are able to quickly gravitate toward data that will impact our decision-making in the process. And so I look forward to hearing more and seeing more about that. Today and tonight, a lot of schools had open houses throughout our district, and certainly from all indications, parents are engaged and involved with principals and school leaders in getting their students back into the routine. And I certainly know that tonight and throughout this week, those parents are finding, I think, an atmosphere and a climate of enthusiasm and excitement in our schools that is contagious. And I'm very excited to be a part of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Ms. Spector.
I just want to say the school looks great. We were talking earlier. I remember when we were doing the groundbreaking, we sat right outside in that hot, steaming weather. And now you've got a beautiful school. And I just want to wish everybody a great year. I would like to make a comment on the medication that Mrs. Anderson had asked you guys to look at it. If you're going to give us something that you're revising, this was revised back in 2006. So it couldn't have been reviewed. I finished.
Ms. Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I share the same comments as Mr. Jackson has already stated. Lynn, your school looks great. I think we're having an awesome beginning of the school year. Debbie, Dr. Ham, I think you've done an outstanding job thus far, and I just want to commend you on that. Did get to see a couple of the schools. I have not actually toured schools, but at Westwood, Ralph, through all your trials and tribulations, your school is wonderful. I wish those people who are complaining about Westwood can get an opportunity to go out and see what a wonderful job that you and your staff are doing at Westwood. I mean, the change in the classes is just as orderly can be. You're doing an awesome job, and I appreciate that. Also had an opportunity to breakfast with grandmas, 7:30 in the morning, and I was at Killian Elementary, wide awake, breakfast with grandma. That was a turnout. I've never seen so many, and I've gone with my other kids, but to see that many parents, grandparents, both male and female, couldn't find a park. People will double parked. They said people started coming in at 7:15, and when I left about, I don't know what time it was, they were still coming. So it was a phenomenal, and I hope all of the schools, elementary schools particularly, would have such a great turnout. And if we could get that same enthusiasm to trickle up in all of our schools, so parents can continue to follow their students, I think our society would be better than what it is. Because believe me, people were double parked. And you know how the parking is at Killian. They were everywhere. And you go inside, and it was just an awesome time. Same thing at E.L. Wright. Everything is just going really well. I think this is going to be a very exciting, wonderful school year. And I just appreciate each and every one of you and the jobs that you do. And appreciate all the reports. Thank you.
Ms. Brill?
I too want to thank Dr. Mueller. Thank you for hosting our meeting tonight. Your school is impressive. One of the things I noticed when we first came in is there was music playing. So I guess it was classical music. And then during your presentation, wonderful classical music. And it's just
said it was jazz, Susan.
So relaxing and so inspiring. So you really do create a wonderful atmosphere here. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. makes me want to come back. Thank you, and I appreciate the professional development reports by classified employees. We too do professional development as well, and I feel like you do, going into each lesson or each afternoon session is something more that we can learn and bring back to our job and make us more effective. So we're very appreciative of the work that you're doing and glad that you have that opportunity as well. Excellent report on, our middle schools and what we're trying to do to improve academic achievement. One of the things that I noted was the after-school tutoring program. I know I had heard a report over at Spring Valley High School that they had 10,000 children go through their after-school tutoring program last year. And that makes a huge difference. And I know their Education Foundation does fund that and allows them, and this is for kids that do not have access to computers at home, and they can have access in the media center. It makes a big difference in their ability to get tests done, get homework done, and then get tutoring. Tutoring is by the Discovery students and teachers as well. So I hope that's something that we will continue to do at every school, middle schools as well. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes, I would just like to say thank you for the classified staff for sharing your professional development. I'm a huge component of classified personnel going out for professional development, so continue to utilize the money that we have to offer that. Also, I noticed that we do have some visitors here from Richland School District 1. I noticed Dr. Mack, secretary, and help me, the assistant. So we appreciate you guys being at our meeting this evening, so thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also want to reiterate the focus on middle school. I actually had a high school principal call me over the summer and tell me, James, the one thing that we need to focus on the most, and he mentioned middle school. And for a high school principal to say to focus on something other than his high school is a big deal. And so I think that's critical going forward. I would like to add to the data discussion that we had. I've been asking for a little while, and something that I'd like to see us move forward on is a data dashboard. I think for staff, not only internal data that was mentioned, but also as board members. I get board members that call me or tweet me or email me and ask me for data when they're in meetings about how many students we have, what's the money we have in the budget. A lot of these questions could be answered with a simple dashboard. To give leadership access to key data as well. And I know there are efforts being made there, but I'd like to see us move forward on that. I want to remind principals when you're dealing with parents, communicate early, communicate often. As a parent, we talked about Common Core and communication with that. Mr. Jackson alluded to that earlier. I think that that component of the customer service aspect of what we do as a district is key. And I know at the beginning of the year, we had different schools that do different things for bringing parents in and showing them what the school has to offer. But we don't want to underestimate how important that communication is to start out on a good footing with parents and students. Dr. Ham did a great job, State of the District address with our business community. It was a fantastic event. Lots of community and business folks came out. Dr. Fleming, you're always reminding us that the businesses foot the bill for our education, a majority of that. And so it's a critical component for us as a district and for education in general to foster those relationships. And Dr. Ham did an amazing job with that. I'd also, looking at the books that you have out here, some of which I think I'd be interested in reading myself, it's reminding me that the public library has a bond referendum that's coming up on our November 5th election. And if you haven't visited the library lately, I recommend that you do. You would be amazed at how modern they are, and they're providing opportunities for teens, and they're looking at even here in the Sandhills area, improving the facilities. So I highly recommend that you go to voteforourlibraries.com, take a look at what they have to offer, and I will be supporting the Richland County Library referendum. It's such a key piece of our society, and would like you to take a look and maybe join in with that support as well. Thank you.
Okay. Dr. Ham.
I've got a
several things I want to say about partnerships. One of them is to comment on the partnership here at the Center for Inquiry. And many of you at this table remember when the university contacted us about becoming a partner to establish this school, and the process of having a proposal and getting it approved, and then it was a collection of portables, and now it's this wonderful facility. And it's been 18 years, I think, and that they have, the universities have been a steadfast partner, and this school has really flourished. And I think I saw Heidi Mills leave, but I really would have liked to have thanked Heidi for being here for this entire time and making sure that that was a lasting partnership, because it really makes a difference here at the school. So I commend you for the work you do, but I think this is a special example of a partnership in our school district. The State of the District and Partnership Breakfast, I want to thank the staff that was involved in putting that together, the board for being there, and most of all for the absolutely fantastic community turnout and the enthusiasm that came out of it. And I think it's a real tribute to the continuing support that we have from our community. I want to mention another partnering opportunity that's coming up with Richland One and our upcoming Youth Leadership Development Summit that'll take place on September 26th and 27th. So we have a partnership with that. It's a great opportunity for our students to participate in. I have just got to mention our office professionals, and I'm glad that you're still here, because I mean, they are knock your socks off people, and they have been so dedicated. We talk about being a learning organization, but you could hear in every one of their comments how hungry they are to learn, not just for their own professional growth, but to make this a more successful school district. We thank you for that. I think it's tremendous. You're fabulous, just fabulous. Spring Valley High School was a recipient of the Region 4A Sportsmanship Award for Excellence in Character, Ethics, and Sportsmanship. So congratulations to Spring Valley High School. And we have a Richland Northeast senior cosmetology students who traveled to Camp Chemo at White Oak Conference Center in Winsboro. They performed manicures and pedicures for the cancer patients there, which was a wonderful thing for them to do. I commend them for that service. And then finally, Spring Valley High School's Carol Luke has been named the 2013 South Carolina Secondary Art Education Teacher of the Year. So we look forward to recognizing her at a future board meeting. So it's been a great start to the school year.
Well, I really don't have anything to say on top of that. I mean, Lynn, how long have you been here? 16 years? 15. I knew it was right after we opened. And this lady is really, I'm not going to say she's been a big part of the success of this center. I mean, I remember that her coming in and getting focused on this place, and she just loved those little portables out there. Boy, she got started. She really, no, I think she said Yahoo when the bond referendum passed, and we were able to build this facility, and it's what quite a facility it is. Thank you, Lynn, for you and your staff, and there are other, Tim, I know Tim was here in the beginning. I know there are other people who have been here for the whole time. Thank you so much for what you do here at the Center for Inquiry, and thank the university for being our partner.
Mr. Chair, before you end the meeting, someone mentioned tutoring. We have not had a report on after-school tutoring for a while.
We haven't. It's been a while.
It's been a while. So could I get a report, because that was my baby to push that through. I want to see if we have enough funds allocated, because the last few times when we did our review, I think they needed more money, but I don't think we've looked at that since Schellenberg passed, have we? Yeah, so it's time for us to look to make sure that they have everything that they need, since we've grown so much. Okay. That's a very important part. And also, I had told you guys that Karen Cooper Haber had gone to London on her own expense, and I encouraged her to put in for the National School Board Convention, and she was accepted to represent District 2 and to do a workshop there. So I was just excited that it's been a while since I don't remember when we've been on national level in a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. So I'm going to encourage you all, not just for the national level, but those of you who have good programs you want to share, and let the other parts of the country know about what all we're doing in District 2, I would encourage you to apply for those conferences in and out of state, because it's really a great thing for our district. And people do come from our state when we're out of at a national conference, because people want to support their home state. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Anderson. There's no second executive session tonight, so do I hear a motion for adjournment? Mr. Manning?
Second it.
Ms. Brill, second.